dizajnerskog aspekta, nego i sa medijskog, biznis i fenomenološkog profesora sa Sorbone, gospodina Marsiliusa Jonesa. On će danas prezentovati nešto što bih rekla da je prilično novo, svojevrstan vodič za dizajnere, umetnike i kreativce, koji bi trebalo, nadajmo se, i što više sasvim sam sigurna, da olakša i ubrza njegov put do uspeha i afirmacije. Mr. Jones, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. And I wanted to say, well, first of all, thank you all for attending. It means a lot to me to be back here in Serbia, in Novi Sad, where I have so much history. I wanted to say thank you to the Serbia Fashion Week for organizing this as part of its international education series. And I'd also like to thank the city of Novi Sad, the European Commission for which this is taking part as part of Novi Sad's selection as the European Capital of Culture for 2022. But today I'm here to discuss something that is very exciting for me and for all of you, I hope. I'm here to discuss fashion and the metaverse and how fashion designers and other creative talents can take advantage of this in order to build future wealth starting today. But we need to know, how did this all start actually? Well, I wanted to say this. As founder and president of the newly organized European Consortium for Emerging Fashion, my job is to constantly look for new ways to be able to support emerging designers in Central and in Eastern Europe who are already known in their own countries but who have not yet become known internationally. But what we want to do is to bring attention to those talents in those countries. So 2020, as we all know, was an exceptionally difficult year. It was an existentialist game changer for everyone. Many in the various sectors of the fashion industry were so adversely affected due to the world health crises. And on the economic and financial scale, women, of course, were negatively affected exponentially more than men. And of course, our reason for existing at the European Consortium for Emerging Fashion is to find ways to not only reduce existing inequalities in society, but also to give fashion designers the tools to thrive thanks to the new economic opportunities that have arisen in a post-pandemic world. And we also want to do so in a way as to create some type of a safety net in the event that something like this happens again. So this is why I wanted to do this presentation here today on the metaverse. So ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves to become part of this amazing revolution that is taking place all over the world. Now, I want you guys to all understand something that is already very important. For many of you, you're thinking, what is the metaverse? How do I get into it? It seems like something that I could never possibly do. But I want you to know that if you have a smartphone, chances are you already are a part of the metaverse. And equally speaking, if you play video games online, you already are a part of the metaverse, especially if you have an avatar. So the mainstream fashion industry has already begun to get into the metaverse. We have amazing names like Nike and H&M, who are among the first international big names to launch activities in the metaverse. Since then, other more exclusive names have made their move. Among them are Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, Burberry, Givenchy, J.W. Anderson, Tommy Hilfiger, Christian Dior, Dolce & Gabbana, etc., etc. But honestly speaking, I often say that had my old friend Karl Lagerfeld still been alive today, I flatter myself into thinking that I knew Karl well enough to say that Karl would have been the first major designer to enter into the metaverse and to really make it a common name and a common word among all of the fashion players. Now the question is, what exactly is the metaverse? Does anyone here know what the metaverse is? Anybody have an idea so far? Have an idea of the metaverse? Good. So that means that you are already about 99.95% in advance of the rest of the population on the surface of the of the earth. So congratulations for those of you who have some notion. And by the end of this presentation, if you sit here with me today to the end, I promise you, you also will be among the small percentage of the world's population that is heading into that direction. Now, the term metaverse first appeared in 1992 in the science fiction novel called Snow Crash. It is a place of convergence between 3D worlds, which have their focus on social connections and social interactions among people who don't know each other and people who are situated in various places of the world. Now, the aspects that define this current metaverse include, of course, Web 3.0, virtual reality, augmented reality, enhanced sound sensory devices, blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, and of course, NFTs. Interactions in the metaverse are facilitated through the use of either virtual reality or augmented reality headsets. And of course, those things, they start off at about $300 and run up to about $3,500, okay? So at the moment, it's not as cheap as we want it to be, but according to Kathy Wood, in application of rights law, the more people that become involved in the metaverse, the more this will expand and the cheaper the prices of these devices will become. And as these devices become more common in everyone's home and as the technology becomes more accessible, it will become, technological advances will make them more sophisticated so that when you are in the experience, you will be completely immersed into a world. So you have to be careful sometimes, especially if you're in VR, because you could like play and you could hit a table and not realize that a table is right in front of you, okay? But we'll get into that a little bit later. So I want to discuss the major themes of this program today is going to be, of course, what is the metaverse? The major themes are virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and of course, I will speak in an extemporaneous manner on the dangers of the metaverse, and then I'll go into my little conclusion here. We're going to start with the notion of augmented reality. So, here we go. Gaining access to augmented reality can be as simple as putting on a special set of eyeglasses. The technology in eyewear adds layers to already existing images in your surroundings by adding digital elements to live view, often by using a camera on a smartphone. Oh. Voila. Here. Now, see, what we have here is a man who is wearing a set of goggles. Now, these are a more sophisticated type for his industrial type of work. And as you can see, he is absolutely working with holograms. This is revolutionary because this gives us a way of learning and of training that has never been really done before. So, and if we can imagine taking this type of training and learning into the regular classroom, can you imagine just how advanced we can make education for children, okay? Now, when we want to talk about what is exactly augmented reality, we have Tulane.edu, which says almost any person with a smartphone can get access to augmented reality, making it more efficient than virtual reality as branding and gaming tools. Augmented reality morphs the mundane physical world into a colorful visual one by projecting visual pictures and characters through a phone camera or video viewer. Augmented reality displays can also be sometimes as simple as data overlay that shows the time to something as complicated as holograms floating in the middle of a room, as we have seen here. Now, one of the biggest players in the augmented reality universe right now is Microsoft. Now, we go from augmented reality to virtual reality. Now, according to the Tulane School of Professional Advancement, virtual reality uses headsets that are heavy and opaque. They block out your surroundings when you are wearing them. It starts by combining the same components that we see in augmented reality and adds them to others. It does so by producing an entirely computer-generated simulation of an alternative universe. Immersive is generated simulations can create almost any environment for players using special equipment such as computers, sensors, headsets, gloves, and it gives you the impression that you are someplace else where you are not. Now, some of the active players in that would also be the HTC Vive, Cosmos, the PlayStation VR. We have Oculus Quest, we have Valve Index. They're all making these special headsets for the metaverse. Now, the big question now is, well, what exactly is the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality, right? So let's look at the hardware. Here, we have virtual reality headsets. And if we go back, we have augmented reality headsets. Augmented reality headsets can be as simple as the little glasses that he's actually wearing, okay? It doesn't have to have this part here. Now, this is for industrial use, of course. So here, we actually use these more in real-world type of learning. And I want to say to you, for me, this is so amazing because, like, I've been watching television shows in which I've seen people actually doing medical training, right? And in this medical training that they are doing, they're learning the success and failure rate if they're performing certain delicate operations such as open heart surgeries. Because every heart is different. There is no one specific type of surgery that you can take from one person and do it to another person. So of course there are going to be some changes here. So they get to use these and other technology to be able to simulate exactly what would happen and to see what are the chances if they go this direction or that direction. So I think that when we're talking about augmented reality, this is amazing. Now when we go back into the virtual reality here, when we're talking more about the virtual reality, this is for people who just want to completely escape their surroundings. Now I'm going to tell people something like this, right? Do you guys know the name Travis Scott? Does anybody know Travis Scott? Can I see their hands right now? I'm going to be honest. I don't know if Travis Scott is a rapper. I don't know if he sings country music or what. I don't know what he does. But I understand he does music. And I understand he had this big concert, right? So a couple of years ago, when we were in the very beginning of the world pandemic of COVID-19, young people and people around the world were tired of staying at home, right? And they wanted to get out and enjoy their lives, but none of us could actually do that because we were stuck at home. And if you were in France, like me at the time, you had to be inside your home 23 hours a day for more than 2 months, with only 1 hour to go outside. So people needed a sense of escapism. People needed to be able to travel, but without leaving their home. So Travis Scott got together with a video game. I believe it was Fortnite. Is that correct? Fortnite was the game? And he did the very first major concert in the metaverse. So what happens is they were able to take people in the gaming community and give them something that they really needed at a time when the world really needed some escapism. So tens of thousands of people were able to attend that particular concert by Travis Scott, making him a global superstar and introducing him to new audiences that did not previously know his work before. Now, I'm just going to resume the differences very quickly between augmented reality and virtual reality. So if you guys have your pads ready, right? So virtual reality requires a headset device, but augmented reality can be accessed with something as simple as a smartphone. Augmented reality enhances both the virtual and real world, while virtual reality only enhances a fictional reality, okay? Augmented reality uses a real-world setting, while virtual reality is completely virtual, okay? Augmented reality users can control their presence in the real world, while virtual reality users are controlled by the system. So now the question is this, and this is where things get very exciting for me. How can we apply this already to the fashion industry? Well, let's talk about training for fashion students, right? So now, this is a setting of a traditional fashion school here, right? I like to think that virtual and augmented reality, particularly virtual reality, can help us to make education more universal, can help to make education not only more democratic, but also sustainable. And it can also be used to make sure that certain traditional techniques and savoir-faire is never lost to this world. So can you imagine if you are a fashion student and you get to have a master class taught by the likes of Donatella Versace, Vivienne Westwood, Elie Saab, or Zubair Murad? Can you imagine that, right? Can you imagine being a student of the grand couturier, my dear friend Franck Sorbier, and watching Franck Sorbier take 140 meters of silk organza and compress it into a smaller piece of fabric big enough to be in a simple evening gown that's off the shoulder? It takes technique and savoir-faire to do that. Can you imagine being taught by Hervé Léger the secrets of the bandit dresses that he created and that makes women sexy all around the world? Let's imagine Christian Lacroix, the great Christian Lacroix, returning to fashion to teach a global course on making extraordinary colors fit effortlessly into something that seems impossible. We're talking about a revolution in fashion education here that the world has never experienced before. We are talking about the mass transferal of savoir-faire from the greatest generation of couturiers alive. We're talking about the transmission of this savoir-faire from today to the future, and we can make this type of learning indefinite. Imagine if we had pre-recorded technical classes from the greats such as Kenzo Takada, Karl Lagerfeld, Terry Mugler, Azzedine Alaïa. We are talking about living savoir-faire that will always find its place in the world. Not only do we want to keep savoir-faire from disappearing, we are talking about sustainable forms of education as well, because we are talking about students being able to learn from their own home without having to travel. Let's imagine another world in which you are a designer, right? You are in another part of the world. You are having an amazing fashion show, but you want to attract the likes of the top fashion editors and the top buyers from New York, London, Paris, Milan, Rome, and Tokyo. But you don't have the budget to organize a big fashion show and to invite them all in private jets. How about if you were to find a partner that could sponsor you for virtual reality headsets, like Travis Scott's concert in the Metaverse? Imagine a world in which you organize your fashion show there. But in advance of your fashion show, you absolutely send to these important people samples of the fabrics. So that way, as each dress, as each skirt, or each coat comes down the catwalk in your fashion show that you're staging in virtual reality in the Metaverse, they get to feel the texture of the fabric, and they are able to make their decision as to if they're going to make purchases from you. And so this will ultimately bring down cost as well, because whenever we are talking about the democratization of technology, whenever we are talking about the spread of new ideas, we are talking about sustainability. Sustainability is where the world absolutely must go if we want to continue to have fun in making fashion today. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about one of the things that I am completely obsessed with, as any of my students at the Panthéon-Sorbonne in Paris will tell you. We're going to talk about blockchain. Unfortunately today, I was in such a rush trying to find some images to put together for this presentation that I forgot, you don't have an example of how blockchain sequences work. So what I did take this and I made this, okay? And I just put it here for you. But only the squares are really important. It's not important what's inside the squares, okay? All right, so now there are numerous major names in the fashion industry which are already involved in blockchain transactions to protect themselves and to authenticate their work, procedures, and products. Last year in 2021, the Aura Blockchain Consortium was launched, and it attracted to it major labels such as Louis Vuitton, Prada, and Cartier. This blockchain consortium allows consumers to access product history and proof of authenticity of luxury goods, from sourcing to sales all the way to the secondhand markets. And when we're talking about this blockchain technology, for people who are very determined to make sure that they are buying responsibly, as Vivian Westwood has always taught me and is always telling me you've got to pay attention to these type of things such as sustainability and transfers. Now, through blockchain technology, we have the opportunity to understand exactly how a product is made, who is involved in each step of the fabrication of these products. We also get to understand from the moment it finishes at a store, you have your certificate of authenticity. Let's just say this with a simple QR code, you could just on your phone pull up the entire history, the lifespan of every aspect of this, right down to the cow that donated its skin as leather for the product to be made. You can learn not only where the cow came from, you can learn the age of the cow, the name of the cow. You can learn what foods were given to the cows, the type of living conditions they were in. And this is really important to people who are militants for the rights of animals and to make sure that animals are treated in a humane manner. So this is just part of what the blockchain sequencing and technologies can do for us. Now, me personally, I can absolutely speak ad nauseum about blockchain technology and what it is and how it works and the other intricate, more complicated details such as these little fancy words such as nodes, right? And if you want to learn the small aspects of how it works, there are numerous sources out there where you can easily access to understand just exactly what is inside each of these little sequences. But I am of the sort of, for people who are learning, right? I am of the idea that, let's just say it like this. Blockchain technology, it can work for all of us. I don't necessarily have to know exactly what is inside each of the blocks. And I'll give you an example. How many in here like hot dogs or chicken nuggets? Who likes hot dogs? Voila, right? I promise you. Do you really need to know how they make the hot dogs? Exactly. We don't really need to know how hot dogs and chicken nuggets are made in order to know that we do enjoy them. And it's the same thing with certain of the aspects of the back office of the blockchain technology. But I am going to give you a little bit more detail about what it is. Now, blockchain technology, to resume, is a technology. It is safe, it is secured, it is encrypted technology that makes it impossible to falsify or imitate something that has been produced either virtually or materially. I'm going to say this again because this is what's really important to the luxury goods sector. It is impossible, once production has entered into the blockchain, it is impossible for someone to take your work and to make false copies of it. It is impossible to produce counterfeit products. Yes, sir?
It is highly, It's highly improbable, but not fully impossible.
We're going to go with what we're going to go. Okay.
It's safe, but not
All right. Now, is blockchain technology safe? I think it's safe, and to me, I think it's one of the things that's going to keep us safe, and it's going to protect us, especially as we head more into a world of Web 3.0. And I'm so excited for the arrival of Web 3.0 to get here. Now, blockchain technology, what makes it safe is the fact that it is a public ledger, it's digital, and it is decentralized. It contains records known as blocks. These blocks of information or data are used to record transactions with timestamps across numerous computers in a peer-to-peer manner. So basically, this is what you want to say. We want to trust you that the knowledge and the information that you say here is what you say it is, but we now have the capacity to verify that what you say is here is the right thing, okay? So each individual block has the secrets of encrypted information that is contained within it. Once validated, a block cannot be modified retroactively without causing changes to occur throughout the rest of the chain. I think this is more to your point. Now, if one of the blocks in the chain is manipulated by an outside force, then the entire chain breaks or is rendered invalid. This makes it impossible to really duplicate the chain with precision. It allows participants to verify and audit transactions independently and at a relatively low cost. This is the proverbial game changer in security of goods, products, services, precious, sensitive information. Now, at this particular point, I'm going to stop talking about blockchain technology for a moment here because I think you all know exactly where the rest of this is destined to go. So, we're going to go and talk about one of my obsessions here. And my current obsession is the cryptocurrency sector. May I ask, is there anyone in the room who has invested in cryptocurrency so far, right? Who else? Ah, that's good, that's good. It's going to be so many more. You guys are so ahead of the world right now. Let me say this to you. We have a world population of 7 billion people. And of that 7 billion people, we have approximately 0.3% of the world's population that's already involved in cryptocurrencies. Now, a cryptocurrency has its value because it's the value that we, the people, say that it has. And that's the most important thing. And people, we've heard people who have been negative throughout the years, such as one of my favorites, Warren Buffett. But these are people of the old economy who fell or who have their own specific reasons, such as mass ownership of the centralized banks, as the reason for saying that this is, we should not trust in these cryptocurrencies. But cryptocurrencies are built on the same technology as same blockchain technologies. So this is what makes cryptocurrencies something in which we can trust. But again, whenever you want to invest in a cryptocurrency, you should do your own research. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of more information about them. So a cryptocurrency or a coin is a digital currency that is designed to work as a medium of exchange to a computer network that does not depend upon any central authority, such as the Central European Bank or the U.S. Federal Reserve. Individual coin ownership records are stored in a digital ledger. Again, this digital ledger is simply a computerized database using strong cryptography to secure transaction records, to control the creation of additional coins, and to verify the transfer of coin ownership from one party to another. Despite their name, cryptocurrencies are not considered to be currencies in the traditional sense. But I'm going to tell you, as I tell my students at the Panthéon-Sorbonne in Paris, I personally do consider cryptocurrencies to be commodities and securities in the same way that we do stocks and bonds. And does anyone have any idea as to what the actual crypto market is valued at today? Because it's down. What do you think it is? 1 trillion?
No, it's more than 1 trillion. Only Bitcoin is around 1 trillion, and then Ethereum is like 500 billion. Billion, sorry. And every single currency that is from the base 2 to the base 10, let's say, base is over 40 to 60 billion dollars. It's anywhere between, it's fluctuating between 1.5 trillion and 3 trillion.
Well, actually, this morning before I came here, I wanted to check just to make sure that I was right, you know. So this morning before I got here, and of course this changed because we know that, you know, there's volatility, and volatility is good. And when it comes to cryptocurrencies, people are afraid of volatility, but trust me, volatility is your friend when it comes to cryptocurrency. Volatility is what can make you money. And I'm going to speak a little bit about volatility in the crypto world in just a moment, and I'll tell you one of my own personal stories, okay? Now, this morning when I was working on the final details of this presentation, the crypto market was worth $1,389,702 million and some change, right? A few hundred thousands change, right? So that's great. Now, if you are considering entering into the metaverse, it is important to know a bit about cryptocurrencies because cryptocurrencies are the cryptocurrency of the metaverse. Now, it is possible to purchase things in the metaverse by using a credit card, but most of the time if you really want to get something particular, most of the time you're going to have to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or something else like Solana and Exchanger or something like that. A cryptocurrency or a coin, again, is designed to work on a medium exchange through computer networks, okay? All right. Now, in terms of what I wanted to talk about for a quick moment about like volatility, right? So at the European Consortium for Emerging Fashion, we were talking to some partners one day, right? And I made a photo of one of my accounts. Now, it was a Friday night going into Saturday morning. I went to bed at about 4 a.m. And on this particular account in cryptocurrency, I had $9,000, right? So I go to bed. I wake up 3-4 hours later, and magically, the 9,000 and some change had magically blossomed and become just a little bit more than $14,000. So I took screenshots where I was able to look at the time. This was taken at 4:02 in the morning. This was taken at something like I think 9:30 in the morning. And I was able to show like the times at which the positions were. And so this is when I say volatility is your friend, and do not be afraid of it. And I always tell people that when it comes to purchasing cryptocurrencies, there are scams, there are rug pulls where people will create certain cryptocurrencies in order to get people to invest. And then what they'll do, when it gets to a certain point, they will sell, flood the market with other tokens, take the cash, and you never hear from them again. So this is why it is always important to be able to read and to understand what are these projects. These projects, they have white papers. Of course, you have Bitcoin, the original. You have Ethereum. Bitcoin was the one to come along and change our mindset and ideas. And I'm going to tell you a real stupid idea, something really stupid right now. I don't pretend to be the world's most intelligent man, right? But I'm certainly far from being the world's stupidest man. Sometimes my caution has cost me. Imagine this, me, 11 years ago in 2011, 2012, I had the opportunity to invest 10 euros, which is about $12 because of the 20% exchange rate, difference back then. I had the opportunity to buy 50 Bitcoin, right, for $12. And I said, no, this sounds like a scam to me. This sounds like they're trying to take my money. But guess what? I have a much better idea as to how to invest my 10 euros. I should go to McDonald's with this 10 euros, right? Oh yeah, McDonald's because, we didn't have Burger King in Paris back then, so I had to go to McDonald's, right? So, but can you imagine? So you guys understand what I'm going through today. I promise you, had I invested that 10 euros into the Bitcoin at that point, I promise you, someone else would be sitting at this table with you right now doing this presentation and trying to just open your mind to it, right? I know this is something that is kind of a little scary for a lot of people, but I promise you, this is absolutely the future. And the one thing, Elon Musk is one of my big heroes, okay? And this is the one thing, as a professor at a university, I do understand what Elon Musk says. He states that the problem with universities today is that universities teach people how to get a job and work for decades for someone else. And we all know that companies will take you and they will do this to you, and they will take all of your talents and leave you exhausted at the end of your career. But what he says is, they teach us to get a job, to work, to save, make money, right? And then to retire. He says what universities should do, we should teach people how to become millionaires in their 20s. Wouldn't that be something? If universities were to revolutionize the way and modernize the way we teach, and we teach you the basics of what are the steps to possibly having a much better life, the life that you want at a much quicker time. Can you imagine a world where none of us had to worry about food, about having to have a home or a roof over our heads, or how to pay for our medical bills, right? We would be in a world of much happier people. And I think that happier people will go into other sectors and do things really well in order to make life better for more people. That's the way I see it. Perhaps it's a bit idealistic the way I see things, but that is the way I honestly and sincerely feel. And I have always carried these type of feelings in my heart and tried to behave and act this way and execute this. Now, People do say that the market for my next thing. Does anyone have any questions very quickly before I move on? All right. So just so that you know, here are Ethereum. We go to the Sandbox. We go to Shiba Inu. We have Chronos here. We have Decentraland. We have BNB, which is the Binance coin. We have one of my favorites, this amazing, exciting coin called Tiger Queen. And we have Dogecoin. Now, of course, each of these coins was created for a different purpose. We have Bitcoin, which was the first. Ethereum was created to improve upon the problems that we encounter with Bitcoin, such as the energy consumption. Elon Musk, back in May of 2021, commented about the energy consumption of Bitcoin and how it was environmentally unsafe for the world. And so now this has pushed them in order to start finding new ways of mining Bitcoin. And now they're investing in a company that's going to be mining Bitcoin by using solar energy. Now, if we look at Dogecoin, Dogecoin was created as a spoof, as a parody of the others, right? We saw its astronomical rise and the slow, painful descent to hell for those of us who like the coin, right? And then we had Shiba Inu that was created as a parody or to knock off Shiba Inu, to knock off Dogecoin. Let me tell you guys something, right? Another silly mistake I made, right? Because I was new to this world. In August of 2020, I'd heard about Shiba Inu before it actually was released into the world, into the universe, into the metaverse. Can you imagine? Let me ask you something. In this room, is there anyone here in this room that is worth or has more than €1 and 30 centimes? Who has more than €1 and 30 centimes? Come on, everybody should have their hands up. Come on, right? Do you guys not know that had you invested in August of 2020, had you invested €1, 30 centimes, which is about, I believe, 130 Serbian dinars, you would have been, had you done that in August 2020, in September 2021, you would have become a millionaire. Can you imagine? By investing 130 Serbian dinar in August 2020, the equivalent of €1.30 or $1.47 at the time in August 2020, you would have become a millionaire by September 2021. That is painful knowledge to know that we have so many opportunities that are just passing us by and that we don't know about and that we're not learning about in the schools. That is very painful to know. So I'm going to go on to so I just want to say this now. When we look at these other ones, we have the Sandbox, which has its own properties and what it's worth. Now, it's more of a metaverse type thing, and we also have Decentraland, where people are buying virtual real estate in the market. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit after the presentation when I take questions. But I just want to say this. In the Sandbox, like a couple of weeks ago, and people are like, how is it possible to buy virtual land in the metaverse? Well, again, something I didn't quite understand. The only way to understand it, you just pick up a book or you just turn on your computer or take your telephone, Google, what is digital land? How do I buy digital land? Why should I buy digital land? How much does digital land cost? And it's very costly too. Snoop Dogg, the famed rapper, he bought land in the Sandbox. A few days later, someone paid $455,000 to have the land, the virtual lot of land, next to Snoop Dogg's lot of land. So for the developers of these products, they are making a lot of money, but we do understand how much is at stake here, because H&M was one of the first to enter into the metaverse, as well as Nike. And when they entered into the metaverse, they're able to create stores, set up their entire universe. If you go to 35 Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré, you go to the legendary flagship boutique of Hermes. Imagine if Hermes were to set up that legendary boutique in the metaverse with your VR glasses. You get to take a tour, right? And I think this is what education really should be about. It should be interactive. It should give people the possibilities to learn. And let's say that we set up, can you imagine for an art student who is studying in a small country, that does not, or at a smaller university that doesn't have a budget of like a Harvard University, right? Harvard as a school has an endowment that is larger than the GDP of many countries in the world. But can you imagine if you were going to a smaller university and you are studying art history and you can't travel and get a scholarship to go to visit the Louvre in Paris, okay, or the Musée d'Orsay. But with a virtual headset, you can have the same experiences as any student who is attending and going to these museums live. You actually get to see the texture of the Mona Lisa or look at the work of Cézanne or Van Gogh and be amazed and have those same experiences. And so at this point, we again, through the metaverse, setting up spaces in the metaverse, we are reducing the inequalities in education. We are reducing the inequalities in shared experiences in the world. And to me, I just think that is so important. Now, I want to move on here just a little bit because now we've gotten to another part. We've gotten to my NFT space. I'm going to go back just a little bit. We've gotten to my NFT spaces, okay? Now, does anyone here own NFTs? Who owns an NFT? Right. I knew you had NFTs, right? I knew you had NFTs. Some of my brilliant students from an engineering school in Paris called ETHRE have created their own NFTs. And they're launching them, and they contacted me, and they invited me to be a part of their NFT experience. So this will be my first time owning NFTs, right? But I just want to say this now. What exactly is an NFT? It is anything that can be purchased, an object of art that can be purchased in the metaverse, okay? It can be a visual image. It can be sound, a sound recording, or it can be a video. In an article for Forbes magazine, Robin Conti and John Schmidt give a clear, concise, and very useful definition of NFTs. They say NFTs work as verifiable assets with unique identifiers and attributes that give them worth. They are built on the same technology as that used by cryptocurrencies. They are individualized digital commodities that can't be exchanged for another asset, but only for themselves. This is what being non-fungible means. And while non-fungibility matters in cryptos, major luxury brands have already entered the fray with their own NFTs. Among them are Bulgari, Cartier, Hublot, Louis Vuitton, etc., etc. Now, RTFKT is also another action. What they've done is they do virtual sneaker drops. Gucci became the first major house to sell NFTs. Dolce & Gabbana, they have their Alta Moda Collezione Genesi NFTs on UNXF. Louis Vuitton, they have a collecting game, right? And H&M Loop Island, which they have their recycling machine on Animal Crossings. Now, get this. The NFT market is expected to grow to become $147 billion by 2026. I think it could reach that point much quicker than that. You agree with me? I do too, because what we're talking about, we have a lot of people that are in the metaverse selling NFTs. Let me tell you something. Now, if this does not make you sick, I don't know what is. I'm trying to motivate you guys, right? Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was with my students in class at the Sorbonne, and they told me, yeah, we read the article too, Mr. Jones. There was someone who sold a collection of NFTs and made $360,000. The person who sold the NFTs, guess how old this individual was? 13. Now, if that is not something to like like break your heart and say, I need to get active. I've got to take advantage of this, right? A 13-year-old kid, and you wonder, you're 13, how much time did you actually invest in creating your NFT collection? Like what, like 2 nights, a weekend, right? Or while you were in the back seat of the car with your parents when they were driving to the weekend house, that's when you decided to create it, right? $360,000, a 13-year-old kid, right? Does anyone have an idea as to how NFTs started?
Basically, the first thing was cyberpunk collection on one labs. They initiated it and to go to the years.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, there was an experiment there in Serbia that they gave it for free. And it like laid down dormant for like 3 years, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020 and then 2021, it just exploded.
Exactly.
It started selling. It was like the entire NFT market was worth like a couple of grand at that moment, and it went to like, I don't know, $30,000, $50,000, and then it just exploded through the roof and started getting millions and millions and now billions.
Exactly, and it's going very, very, very big, very quick, exponentially. But something I didn't know. Does anyone play video games here? Who plays video games? Right? It's actually your community. Those who play the gaming community are the ones who created the first NFTs. And I want people to understand something. Everything does not have to come from top down. It can be bottom down, and from bottom down, I mean like the very basic elements of society, everyday, normal, regular people are the ones who created NFTs, people playing video games. And so you have what I heard people saying, digital designers. I was like, well, what is a digital designer? These are people who are famous in the digital space, in the metaverse. They create fashion accessories such as eyeglasses and hats and shoes. And a lot of these things really are just large pixels, not very sophisticated. And so when you hear that a pixeled image is selling for 1,200 euros a pop, you're just like, really, who's buying this stuff? Now, me personally, I have my own ideas as to what is art, what should be acceptable as art, and what should not be acceptable as art. But thank God, it does not depend upon my own impression of what is and what should not be considered as art. So that's the thing I wanted to say about that. But I do want to say something else, another anecdote, right? In January 2020, I was on this application called Clubhouse. And it's an application that became quite popular during the confinements. And I heard someone saying in one room, yes, digital art is the future, digital art is the future. I was like, what are you talking about, right? I was like, I don't understand this. Art, I understand the concept if I were to purchase a ticket, I could go to the Louvre or I could go to the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I can see collections. I can see the texture. I can see how things work. However, I didn't quite understand the innate value. If someone buys digital art and they're the owner, how can it be displayed? It gains value if it is displayed, when people can buy tickets to see it. So I said, sounds like another scam to me. Now remember, whenever I say something sounds like a scam, that's when you know you should run to it. You know my track record with Bitcoin, right? So, and some other things. So what happened was 3 weeks later, I was on Clubhouse again, and I heard someone mention for the very first time a term I never heard of. And they was like, oh yes, NFTs are the future. NFTs are the absolute future. And so thank God on these applications where you're in these communities, you can just ask people and they're very generous with knowledge and information, right? So I said, what is an NFT? And they was like, oh, an NFT, that's simple. It's a non-fungible token. And I said, yeah, fungible. Oh, of course, everyone knows what fungible means, right? I didn't know what fungible means. But it didn't take me long afterwards. I just did this. Hey, Google, what does fungible mean, right? And then I discovered it. And I said, so I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so now I get it. I get it, right? So guys, don't be afraid to ask questions. Communities that are immersed in the metaverse, in NFTs and in cryptos, these are communities that are so generous with their knowledge and their information. But remember, if people ask you to send them something or to click on this and that, stay away from it, okay? Because if you have a crypto wallet or if you have a wallet with NFTs in it, they will steal it, because if it's a good idea, they will take it from you, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my conclusion, because you've been very generous, and I don't want to bore you to death, but I hope the information that you have received here is quite interesting for you. I do want to take the time, though, to mention something else to you. I do want to talk to you about, it's not here in my official program, but I do want to, I believe it is in my official program. I'm going to go back to the very beginning here. Yeah, I do want to talk to you about the dangers of the metaverse, okay? Because in any time, we live in the real world, and some of the quick dangers of being in the metaverse is this: whenever there's a new idea or a new way to create money or to generate wealth, you will always have people out there, instead of trying to learn how they can do it themselves and benefit, you'll have them going the opposite way. They will come and create ways of taking from you, which you have created. So you've got to be careful, okay? Other problems that I have found, potential dangers that we see in the metaverse, there's also the dangers of addictions. When you are in the metaverse and when you're playing the games, there are addictions that can arise from the gaming. I personally fear the loss of contact. People will get so far into the metaverse that we will somehow lose the art and the chic of personal human interactions. So we must not go too far into the metaverse where we forget what it's like to be people and to interact with regular, normal people on a day-to-day basis, with all of the good, the bad, the conflicts, the laughter, the smiles, and the joy that goes along with it, okay? All right, so in conclusion, I want to thank you for being here, and I'm just going to say that having a platform in the metaverse has allowed actors to grow their sales, to their profits, to lift their popularity, to gain hype, and to make money. The virtual world prevents cases of overstocking for fashion players, because they can control their stocks much better to know exactly what is coming in and what is going out. And I just want to wish you all the very best in the metaverse. If you have questions, I'm going to stay here to answer a couple of your questions, but before I stop, I just simply want to recognize and say thank you to the Serbia Fashion Week for inviting me here, along with the European Commission for having me here as part of this international education series. I want to thank my students and my colleagues at the Panthéon-Sorbonne University in Paris for giving me the space to be able to enlighten students about this new world of possibilities for their generation. And I also want to thank the Minority Fashion Alliance in London for supporting me in all of these things that I work on. Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed and learned something. C'est bon? I'm not comfortable. The only thing about the metaverse that I am not comfortable with are the security implications. The security implications are the things that scare me most, okay? Now, I'm going to say this to you. If you live in the metaverse, of course, you have to eat, right? You have to pay your bills. I know it's possible through addictions that some people could lose themselves. That is a potential for anything, for everyone, right? But I don't think that's going to be the mass majority of the world, because most people know, oh, I have to go to the toilet. Oh, I might need to take a shower, right? So I think most of us will never lose touch with that. But the thing that I want to say about this new metaverse is, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to agree with me, Boyan, I like what Web 3.0 has to offer us. And this is something that I didn't include in my official presentation, but I want to do this now because this is something I am always bitching about this to my students at the university and to anyone who will listen to me. How many of you receive marketing information, like advertisers contacting you, spam mail, stuff you don't want to? Who gets that? Does it drive you crazy like it drives me? It makes me crazy. Let me give you an example, right? I was wanting to go to Marseille in the south of France. It's a place I'd never visited before, and it's one of the cities in France I've wanted to visit for quite some time. So I decided to go on Halloween weekend in 2021. So I was looking up train tickets. I was looking up hotels. I never once said I wanted to fly. So the next day, normally from Air France, I get every month, once a month, a newsletter with their offers for Europe, for the Americas, for Asia, right? Because I'm always looking for cheap prices for tickets to come to Serbia, right? Which is true, right? So what happened was this. The next day, after doing my search for an Airbnb and for the train tickets, I get a newsletter, a special letter. It wasn't a newsletter. It looked like the traditional newsletter, but there was only one offer. It was for airline tickets to that one city I wanted to go to. And I'm like, how did they know I wanted to go? The problem is this: Facebook has betrayed, companies like Facebook, they have betrayed all of us by collecting our information and sending it to the highest bidder. And the problem with this is, when we talk about the transfer of sensitive information in the world, this is the major problem that we are facing. People know too much about us. I literally have friends, they have gotten so sophisticated in tracking every detail about who you are and what you are. I literally have friends telling me that they're getting advertisements specifically about when they get their period. I think that is excessive. I don't think that any company in the world should track women to the point that they know when the date as to when a woman is expected to get her period, how long she will have her period, and if she has a heavy flow or a light flow. I think that is extreme invasion of privacy, and I think that we should do something about it. Now, Web 3.0 is offering to us some solutions to change that, because Web 3.0 is bringing the blockchain to each and every one of us, independently of if we understand exactly how it works or not. Now, people say, well, you know, people who work in marketing companies, they are only doing their job. They have to make money. Sure, I get that. I understand that. People have to eat, right? But let me say this to you. Companies are willing to pay marketing companies for information about you, right? They say it's to make life easier for you, right? And every time as we age, our tastes, they develop. Some things we hated some years ago, we absolutely adore today. And things that we simply thought we could not live without in the past, we simply cannot stomach eating or thinking about today, right? Now, that's information as to how you evolve and how you develop and how you grow, correct? But let me say this to you. Imagine a world if you got to control your information. Let's say high-end travel companies. For example, we have Nadia Valeva here. She is the president, she's the founder and the president of the European Fashion Council. Bravo, Nadia. Nadia is a woman who travels a lot. So over the years, Nadia has seen things, right? Nadia has a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge. Companies want to know, how has she changed? And they're willing to pay Google, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and every other thing under the sun money to get the information about Nadia. But I have an idea. why not just ask Nadia Valeva, right? Just ask her. But if they ask you, they've got to pay you. So what happens here is, if we can control who has access to information about us and exactly what that information is, guess what you have become? You have become your own NFT. You have the possibility of transforming yourself into a non-fungible token, a living non-fungible token. Let's say that you take this, you agree, you sign up with an elite company, you agree to answer 1,000 questions about you. It will take time to answer those questions, right? But you answer 1,000 questions about you. And every 6 months, you agree to update certain information about yourself. So that way companies can better target you. But if they do that, you get to decide which companies has access to you, for how long they have access to that information. They'll have to continue to pay you because as you grow, as you live, as you change, your taste will change and evolve. And every time you change and evolve, they need to pay you. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about that.
Can we get a microphone for him, please? Can I get a microphone? Now, Boyan, don't make me look bad here, okay? Because I know you got your project. Don't make me look bad.
Okay, so what I wanted to say here, it's good that we are talking about privacy because American Congress and European Commission are currently really pressing down on that matter, and definitely as early as this year, you know, you are able to control what companies will be knowing about you. And definitely that will happen, but Web3 is not going to stop that. It's going to copy the practices, you know, maybe change something about it, but those things will still be the same. And for example, there is one saying, if you're not paying for something, for the product, then you are the product. And that's completely true with Facebook,
right,
with Google, with any other company that is basically for free for us, because they are farming us and our information to sell it, and that's how they live. And then about that, what you said about you giving the information to the advertisers, that's not going to work. You know, that's really slow. That's the first problem. It's really slow. You would need to have a lot of people really do that and share the info, and then you need to process it. Currently. AI algorithms
right now.
It is possible, but it's a little bit you know, time consuming, because currently you are just living your life and there is a data created about you. They don't know your name most of the time, but they know you by some numbers, so they can address you by that. But the problem is the other problem that I see, even if we all said let's do that, let's share our data, let's talk about us. Most of the time, we don't even know what we want and who we are, and then there is a problem with truth, because you know, there are some people that are hiding something, and sometimes those algorithms will know the truth better than yourself, you know, and they will offer you
but see,
that.
that's
even
the problem,
before.
though. Just because a company has the ability to do it, does it make it right that they do it?
It is not ethical, but I do believe there should be something in between, because it helps. There are really a lot of good things about this method, because it can help us in the long run. But the only problem is when it's misused. You know, when there is some malicious intent behind some company to really prey on the weak or really sell you something that you really don't need. But I do believe that data technologies and, you know, machine learning and all of those things that are existent at this moment, they're needed and they're good. But technology is neither good or bad. I will finish this on this statement. It is about who use it, you know. It can be used in both ways, and it's about the people who are using it, because it's not good and not bad by design.
Thank you, Boyan. Well, you know, Boyan, you make some really interesting points, and again, for me, again, this is the situation. Take Facebook, for example, right? Facebook is known to do things that are harmful to its community. And every time Facebook has had the opportunity to decide, do we do what is right? Or do we do harm and or do we harm people and make money? Facebook has always chosen to make money. Facebook had practices we did not even know. We did not even know that Facebook was tracking us in the way that they were doing. We did not know that Facebook was selling information about us to third parties. And this is where the problem comes in, for example, with Facebook. Let me say this to you. It is a crime in certain places to be gay, lesbian, or transsexual. They have helped to get... Let me put this in a more hypothetical sense. You sign an agreement with Facebook. How many people in this room, when you sign up for social media, how many of you actually take the term to read the conditions?
Nobody.
I do. I do. And the reason I do is because of this. It's not that I have something to hide. It's just that I tell people things about me on a need-to-know basis. If you don't need to know, you won't know. And see, and that's the thing about me. I always tell people I have no problems for the simple fact that I got 3 rules. I don't talk about people behind their backs. I don't gossip. And I have the uncanny ability and this amazing talent for simply minding my own fucking business. And that's why I don't have problems, right? Now, if you can take those 3 things and put them together, you'll have a happy life. But the problem is this. If I'm minding my business, why should Facebook stick his nose in my business? And it's not a question of if it's ethical or not. It's none of their business, these things. And again, I don't think that any social media company should track a woman to know when she's getting her period. I think that is overly excessive. Is it ethical? You say it's not ethical. Is it illegal? Clearly, it's not illegal. But the question is, just because it's not illegal, does it make you comfortable? Do you want to live that way? I personally don't want to live that way. And I had a student who said to me on the question of privacy, right? Well, sir, I don't mind if they track me. I don't care because I don't have anything to hide. And then another of my brilliant students raised a hand and said, well, let me ask you something, classmate. Classmate, do you have curtains in your home? Yes, I do, said the classmate. At night, do you close your curtains? The classmate said, yeah, I do. And then the other classmate brilliantly said, well, if you have nothing to hide, why do you close your curtains at night? So it's not a question of if it's right or, do you see what I'm saying? There are certain things that people should not have 100% and total access to us for the sole purpose of profiteering, because that information that they can put out about us can end up in the hands of the wrong people, right? And it's like some years ago, I remember some years ago, I had gone on Google Earth, and then I contacted my dad, and I told him, I said, oh, I see you changed the color of the house. He said, yeah. Oh, I see you changed the cars. He said, yeah. I said, oh, but I see this is in the garage too. He was like, are you in town? Are you here? I said, no, I'm in Paris. Or maybe I was in Russia or the Ukraine, I can't remember. But anyway, I was telling him, no, I see this on Google Earth. And my father said, how can you see all of this? I was like, because apparently the garage was open at some point recently, and I can see everything inside of your garage. That's just too much. If you have a child, and your children are playing, and these companies are tracking the times when you are leaving home, how many children you have, who is coming to your home at the times, that is too much access to any private citizen. This is the danger of these companies doing this. And we don't know what people will do, and they have used, and information has been used in other countries where the laws are very different, where Sharia law may exist, or in other countries where people are simply conservative. People have lost their lives because of these things, these type of practices. So if you are talking about someone's life and security because a company has a practice that makes them money, it's not illegal. Well, we can say, is it ethical? Yes or no, but it's not illegal. To me, that is not a conundrum. That is not a dilemma. It should not be done, and we should have more rights to decide who knows what about us. Now, of course, we have to, and again, when you say it's time-consuming, that's why I said, if Nadia Valeva agrees to become an NFT, and she agrees to answer all of these questions. Of course it's going to take time. Of course it's going to take time. But guess what? That's why they're going to pay her. That's why they're going to pay her. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Short one.
Yeah. Oh, microphone, please.
You missed the Bitcoin NFT. Are you on time with Web 3.0?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope I am on time with it now.
Because I'm investing a lot in Web 3.0, but right now because of Bitcoin prices, that everything dropped. But I'm really patient about that.
Well, this is the time to buy now. You know, I always tell people.
Yes, I know everything. I am in cryptocurrency from 2017 when Ethereum was $45.
Oh, wow.
Upside.
So you're kind of rich, aren't you? You're probably like the richest person here.
No, but in one time I have a lot, but I didn't sell. But okay, I'm learning.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You learn every day. I always tell people and stuff, you know, if you want to know how this works, you do not have to use regular money. You can create an account on many different applications, and they allow you to be able to use paper trading, which is, it's not real money, but you get to like say, okay, you get to invest in these cryptocurrencies just to see how it's going to work, if it goes up or down, so that way you can learn without risking your money. And then the day comes when you actually want to do it, then you can put money in it. And as I always tell people and stuff, you know what? Start with 10 euros. If you have a little more, start with 100 euros. Buy Ethereum, buy Bitcoin, and then experiment with some other ones like Tiger Queen. I was on an application, again, this Clubhouse application, right? And I was trying to figure out how to buy another cryptocurrency because it was on the decentralized platforms, right? And I never purchased on a decentralized platform before. So I said, how does it work? They explained to me, and I listened. And then the guy, Nick Diaz over in Canada, he was like saying, well, you know, yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'm launching my own cryptocurrency called Tiger Queen, which is kind of like an inspiration and homage to Carol Baskin from the Tiger King, that trashy Netflix show called Tiger King, right? And Carol turned out to be the hero of the story. And so they created the Tiger Queen, and I said, okay, well, when you launch it, let me know. I want to invest in it because I'm thinking, you know, that Mr. Diaz was like some young kid working in his parents' garage, you know, living with mom and dad. And I said, I want to support young people. And this is something that I've always said to my students, that if you are launching something, please let me know because I want to support you as your professor. So turns out, Nick, he launched the Tiger Queen in November. I bought Tiger Queen the day it went on the market. I invested money in Tiger Queen, and it increased, whatever I put into it, it increased by 20 times. So whatever I put in, you multiply it by 20. So for every dollar I invested, I got $20, right? So that's in a few hours. But get this though, had I bought earlier, a few hours earlier, right? Had I bought a few hours earlier, had I invested like $80, right? About I think this is like 8,000 dinars, yeah? And I invested like 8,000 dinars a couple of hours earlier. My 8,000 dinars would have become $47,000 from one day to the next, right? So this is the importance of learning about these cryptocurrencies in advance, learning about these people. They always have like communities like on Discord and Facebook and Twitter and Telegram, but in Telegram there's a lot of crazy conspiracy theories people there, right? You know, who believe that the world is inhabited by reptile people, so be careful with that one. Okay, right. So be careful with that one. So, but all of these cryptocurrencies, they have these things called a white paper. Learn about these things, you know. And I tell people, a white paper can be long, but take the time, print the white paper up, right? Commit yourself to reading 2 pages of the white paper every day to understand what is in it. If there are terms in the white paper that you do not know, underline the terms and go to Google. Google what is What is, what is. Then go back and read those same 2 pages again, right? It's little by little. It's never a one type thing. And I'm going to tell you guys something. For those of us who have already made our first steps into the metaverse, we are the smart people. We are the people who are representing the future, because before COVID hit, right, only 6% of the world's population was making purchases online beyond things like an airline ticket or booking a hotel, right? Only 6% were buying goods and things like on places like Amazon. But because of COVID, we all had to stay home and we couldn't go out and we needed things, we started making more purchases. Is there anybody in here who made a purchase online for the first time during COVID? Yeah? Okay. So the thing is, we saw an overall increase in the number of people grow, right, by a couple of percentage points. And those percentage points represents hundreds of billions of dollars, okay? So at the same time, this is the same thing with the cryptocurrency world. So if we are only right now 0.3% of the world's population that is currently invested in cryptocurrencies, can you imagine what it's going to be when it gets to 1%, 5%? We want 5%, right? I just need 5% of the world to buy the cryptocurrencies that I like, and life is good. Any other questions, comments? Do you have cryptos? Hmm? You're going to get some one day? I hope so. I hope so, yeah. All right, well, I guess we're done. I want to say once again, everyone, thank you very much, and I want to thank the sound and lighting and the camera crews for being very patient with us today for our presentation. I want you to know that it is exceptionally appreciated. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you very much. Thank you.